Hey, so Lonely Writers Vlog, episode 2. This one I really want to focus on characters. The last one was sort of the weird introduction video. I didn't really talk too much about anything um, that pertained to writing too much. But in this one, I really want to get down to characters and like the characters I'm making and kind of creating characters that end up becoming family. It's a really big part of any story. You can always, of course, have like your random action movie where it doesn't matter about family and it's just I guess a great example would be almost any martial arts film. Although I guess most martial arts films are very focused on family, but I feel like there are a lot of them too where it's just like just typical martial arts action movie, and they always tend to have better stories than American action films, to me at least. And it might be because I just like martial arts more, but I like the characters I'm writing. I like to have them be good characters. I always watch stuff where it's like, God, I want to make a villain that's like that, or a hero that's really really cool. Like one of the coolest things I guess in any cool action story or whether it's like animation or just in novel form is the people classified as anti-heroes. I always like those people because it's like they're just right on the edge of being bad, but they're good guys. They do stuff that the bad guys do, but only two other bad guys. And that's what makes them such cool characters. And some people kind of really ride the fine line, especially in anime, really. People can just go all over the freaking place. You never really know. But I always loved anti heroes where it's like this person, like I said, they're good, but they do really violent things, but only two bad guys. Like a great example of that in American culture, I would have to say, is Wolverine, who's known in the X Men. Of course, he's like kind of the main person in all the films because he's just kind of blown up like that in the movies. But we always get the PG-13 version of the X Men where we don't tend to see too much. And in the last X Men movie, I think that was the most brutal stuff we actually got to see out of all the films. But Wolverine like destroys people. Like if you played the game for X Men Origins, like even if you hated the movie, the game was unbelievably amazing and it was incredibly bloody and it was what I always wanted from a Wolverine video game when I actually played it. Like even the opening scene is incredibly gruesome. It's completely mature. They have a teen version, but like the mature is the uncaged version. And in that, the opening scene, he gets shot with a shotgun, and it like blows through his body, and you see the bones and stuff. He gets shot through the face, and like his eye disappears and then heals back, and you can see the adamantium in his skull because the shotgun blast just like scrapes everything off. And it looked amazing, and he does some insane stuff in that game, and you can like get shot up and take damage and just watch him heal and it'll go down to his spine and organs, and it's really cool. He's just one of those cool characters, but we tend not to really see that a lot because typically it's hard to get a lot of money for like our X-Men, I guess. And you can exactly put that in the 1990s cartoon where he's just like chopping people up. That would not really fly. But he's a great anti-hero character, and I like making characters that are cool like that. They don't technically have to be anti-heroes, but there's some people who are just really cool good guys as well. And like most typical action films, the good guys just strictly good, but it's like they're just unbelievably amazing. They're better than all the bad guys, and they're just really cool. Like most superheroes, they're just flat out good, but they just beat all the bad guys, and it's like, man, they're really cool. Some are cooler than others, and then some are really cool, and they dive into the anti-hero thing, kind of like Wolverine. But I've always enjoyed writing interesting characters. It's always been something that was interesting to me. Like creating the worlds was cool, but you can. I feel like coming up with a world is easy. You can say like, oh, it's a random fantasy realm, or it's in space, or it's on Mars, or it's on Earth. It's the people that really matter because I can draw a circle and it's I can say it's Earth, and it's like what's in this Earth. That's what's really important. It's the people inside. So I always enjoy making good characters, and I make characters I personally feel are good. I have no idea because I've never had anyone read this stuff, but I make characters I like to think they're good. I make characters that are, of course, inspired by other characters that I really like, and I try to make them really cool. But I try not to be like one thing that's really in anime. The main character is overpowered. That's a huge thing in anime, especially in like the really big anime like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and stuff. The main characters just get the most ridiculous upgrades, to beat the tougher villains, and it makes sense that they need it because each new villain is more powerful than the hero currently is. But then they just it's like, oh, I did it. Like nobody else can do it except in one case in Dragon Ball Z when it was Gohan instead of Goku who actually won. It's always just Goku, and then after that happened with Gohan, it was like just stop. They just stopped him right there, and it went right back to Goku. But that's one of the things I hate about certain characters. I don't like when people just get all the abilities and stuff. So I like to have cool characters, but they can have their limits. They can be beaten by certain people, and that's kind of a good thing where you get beaten early on and then you come back, but not when it's just over and over again. It's like you have all these powers, and it's of course still cool to watch. It's not like I'm gonna be like, oh, now he has another power. I'm bored. That's that would never happen because if it's well written, it's just well written, or at least it looks really cool. So I'm gonna stick to it. But I always like characters who have real big limits. Like they have cool powers, but it takes a lot out of them to use their cool powers. Like if someone had lightning powers, and they could technically shoot it, but if they did, they like pass out or something like that, or it would almost drain them completely, and they'd barely be able to fight after they did it. It would be sort of their last resort type of move, and I always like stuff like that. And of course, over time, in pretty much anything, that ability comes back more and more because with anything in life, even if it's not real life, if you have something, you can train to use that over and over, and it becomes easier to do. So it makes sense that certain powers come into play. And once again, a great example of that would be in anime with Naruto, where he learned this really cool move called the Rasengan. It was like the new big thing, and now he can just do like 100 million versions of that. But they all look really cool, and he needs bigger and better versions over and over to beat bigger, badder enemies. So it started off really. It's still really unique. I guess I can't say it's not because he's the only one who can do it really, but it started off as this simple little concept, and now it's got like multiple versions, and he can mix it with other things, and it, like I said, it looks amazing every time he does it. It's like that's just so insane and over the top, but it looks really cool, so I enjoy it. But I always like characters more that have limits that last throughout the whole thing, where it's like I just can't do this, or I never really grasp this ability. And I've always like characters more like that, and that's what I try to write. Like sometimes you just have to make it where, depending on how you write, because I kind of just write as I go, you kind of have to just give them a certain power in a certain point, and maybe you have it planned out, maybe you don't. But sometimes if you are stuck, that might be why some people get just random powers. Like, boom, I suddenly know how to do this, and now I can beat you. But I've always loved characters that were either anti-heroes or were just really, really amazing. A lot like Wolverine. He is nearly unstoppable, but there are people that can take him out. Like, he's nothing against Magneto because of the adamantium in his bones. He's done. And he still has his nemesis, who is Sabretooth, and both of them are fairly similar. Wolverine's a bit better. He was always tougher, but Sabretooth comes after him, and they just fight. They're crazy, trying to just take each other out, and it's really cool to have that where he's like one of the toughest people pretty much in all of Marvel, and he just still has this crazy nemesis who just like rips his throat out and stuff, all types of graphic stuff that we don't get to see in like visual media. Well, we get to see them in the comics, but nothing like animated or in the movies. We never see anything crazy like that. But those are the type of characters I like, and I like to think I'm making characters that good. I of course hope I am, because I think that's what everyone hopes. They're making the next best thing. But I really like making important characters that people enjoy liking or even enjoy hating. You know, characters you love to hate, stuff like that. Because I love great bad guys, like I said early on, but I love a really cool hero who's very neutral, but it's like in the end they save this person, even whether they know him or not, because it's like, well, why let him die when I can do something to help? Because I actually give a crap. Even though for the most part, I'd rather just like kill a bunch of bad guys, but I can't just kill this bad guy. I have to save this person and then fight and stuff like that. So I like those type of characters, and like I said, I hope that's what I'm doing, but I never really know until it's all finished and someone else says it's good or it's bad. But what do you guys think about characters? Like, if you're writing a story, or if you've just done like little skits and stuff, what type of characters do you like to make? Whether it's an action type thing, or if it's just something more uh, dramatic, what type of characters do you like to make? And what type of characters would you say you're good at making? Like, everyone can have their set standard where it's like, I can write villains better than I can write heroes, or I can write uh, kids better than I can write adults, or I can write someone who's solely based on me because that's just what I know well. And of course, I feel like that's what pretty much any writer does. At some point, they take bits and pieces and they probably split it up into characters, or they have one that is almost exactly them, just taken out of the real world and put into this world. So, what type of characters would you say you like to see, you like to write, and which characters would you say you're good at actually creating? Thanks for checking this one out. And of course, check in next week. I'll have a third one. I don't know what that one's going to be talking about, of course, but if you have any advice for any writing characters, new characters, how to make weak characters better, but in a nice paced way and not just like weak, super strong stuff like that. If you have any advice for either me or just anyone who might come across this, please put that stuff below because it'll help the 10 or 12 people that might actually come across this, and I definitely appreciate it. But thanks for checking this one out, and definitely check in next week for my Lonely Writers Vlog number 3. Thanks for watching.